Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angel Rivera, and this is, if you see me, that means this is Angel in the afternoon. Hope everybody had a great week, and we're going to be discussing quite a few things this week. Here we go. Sorry about that. Um, by the way, I want to thank everybody for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure you please subscribe to the channel. And, I'm excited to be back after being off last week. And, as everybody knows, here in New Jersey, we're having a heat wave. And, excuse me one second. There we go. That was annoying me. It was like a speck of dust on my computer. And I don't have air conditioning. So if I'm sweating, I apologize. But, we're going to deal with it. We're going to get through it. So there we go. There's not much I can do about it, but let's get it started. Hope every, so our first story of the day is whoops, didn't mean to do that. All right, here we go. Our first story of the day is that Americans are warming up to mass deportation. Now again, I've been saying this for a year on the show, but as everybody knows, the worse that this migrant crisis gets, the worse that the more and more Americans are going to start warming up to the idea of mass deportations. So yeah, and now there's polling out that proves the case pretty much. Yes, I'm not a huge fan of polling, and I know polling has its issues, especially in the presidential races. But I think this poll in particular, can really kind of give us an idea on who's in favor of it and why. So let's see. Here we go. Mass deportation is now popular. A majority of registered voters favor a new national program to deport all undocumented immigrants currently living in the U.S. illegally, 62 to 38, which is a big, big number. It's not like it's 51-49 or something. And another point, which is what I'm going to really harp on, a majority of Hispanics favor mass deportation, 53-47, which is a lot closer. But this is a CBS News YouGov poll. So here we go. Let's see here. So you can't actually see this. Okay, let me see. That might work. So it's 62-38 overall. That's overall. For males, it's 66-34 in favor. Females, 58-42. These are the overall numbers. Now let's get to age. Under 30. So 39 in favor, 61 against. So it's the under 30 crowd, the Gen Zers, right? Yeah. They're still, they're against it massively. 30 to 44-year-olds. So these are mostly your millennials and Gen Xers. That's 61-39 in favor, which is a big number for millennials. And the 45 to 64, those are your older people, 63-37, and 65 and above, 73-27. So those numbers don't really surprise me that much. And let's see, liberal 26%, 74 against, so that's not surprising. The moderates, the centrists, 62-38, that's a big number, and conservatives, of course, 88 for, 12 against. So let's get to party. It has party here. So 38% of Democrats, or 38% of Democrats. That's a big number that are in favor of mass deportations now. 62 against, 60% independents, 40% against, and Republicans 88% for, 12% against. Which is, again, these are not that surprising of a number. But these are, let's see. So go by race: white 67-33 against. So 67% in favor, 33% against. That's not that shocking. Black 47% for, 53% against. And Hispanics, it's the exact opposite, 53% in favor, 47% against. So, and let's get to education. No degrees, no college degree, I assume this means. 74% in favor, 26% against. And people with bachelors are above, 58% in favor, 42% against. So, yeah, so even educated people, everybody mostly right now, as of now, favors mass deportations. And I know that these numbers, and this is a poll conducted from June 5th to June 7th, 2024. And does this say the margin? No, it doesn't. But yeah, and like I've been saying, I want to go right to the Hispanic part there. 53-47. And but you might say, why in the world would Hispanics be in favor of mass deportations? The majority of people coming across the border are Hispanic. It's very simple. I mean, a lot of there's and it's not just for Hispanics, it's also for most minorities in this country that are citizens or here legally. A lot of them, these are people who, tend to be, especially Hispanics tend to be more socially conservative and don't really want people coming into the country like that. And another issue is for everybody. Our social programs are being maxed out to the point that where you can, and I'll use myself as an example because it's easier for me for an anecdote for my own experience. As I'm not sure if a few of you might know, but I've talked about this before. But we do go to food pantries here in my house or my apartment. So yeah, so these days it's tougher to get food. And at one pantry in particular, which I go to, I remember talking to one of the people, and they literally said to me, "We're having more demand for food than we ever did before." And she left it at that because I think we all I understood at least what she meant. And there's more there's more illegal migrants here, or immigrants, whatever you want to call them, and they're rushing to food pantries, and demand is just way up. So there's fewer resources for everybody, and then you have cities like New York and Chicago and LA just giving away free food stamps and free money and free room and board to these migrants that are crossing the border. So yeah, like Americans can't really take much more of this. I mean, like it gets to a point where it's like, okay, like enough's enough. Like when are we gonna actually, do something? Or when is the federal government gonna actually do something? Like, come on, let's. I mean, all we're doing is just letting people in and in and in, and there's no Washington coming out with, okay, this is what we're gonna do. So, which is why a lot of people are like, there's like I said, there's a desperation and a panic. So once that happens, all you're gonna get a situation where it's like, fuck it, let's just deport all of them. 8 years ago, when Trump first got elected president, I mean, the idea of mass deportations being popular was inconceivable at that time. Now it's like, of course, 8 years later, the problem has gotten so bad that it's like, of course, why wouldn't you do mass deportations? I mean, the government has no other answers. I mean, it's just like, oh, okay, the feds aren't doing anything. Texas and Florida and a lot of red states like that are just shipping the migrants north to New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, California, Illinois, states that are like safe haven states or cities. So yeah, so you got a situation where it's just, something needs to be done, and quite frankly, it's like there's no solutions. So usually when that happens, you go to demagogues, you go to people like Trump, and who has a solution. You may not like that solution, but people, hey, at least it's a solution. So yeah, let's just deport them all. all 15 million illegal immigrants that are here in the U.S. without papers. Yeah, this is get rid of them all. So the way that I fall is, it's just, I'm not, I just want a just something, give me a solution. Okay, because right now mass deportation is getting popular, and it is already popular, and you have a lot of people saying, oh well, we need illegal immigrants to, or else then who's gonna pick our corn and pick our fruits and vegetables and stuff from the farms, because Americans don't want to do that. So we need them here. We need them here for the economy and stuff. A lot of liberals, talking, running their mouths about how we need illegal aliens in order to excuse me, in order to get our fruits and vegetables and food and stuff like that. Basically, what they're telling you and what they're saying is oh, we don't want to spend an extra quarter on our fruits and vegetables. So let's just we got to keep illegal aliens here and let them get exploited in order to, save 50 cents on our food, our fruits and vegetables. So that's what they're saying. They just say, "Oh, let the Mexicans get exploited and basically get paid slave labor because I want to save some money on my fruits and vegetables." So so that's just gross. That is just straight up gross. And quite frankly, that's seeing or hearing of the possibility of Hispanics being used for the sense of just because people want to save some money on their fruits and vegetables is just outrageous to me. So yeah, those liberals can go fuck themselves, because to me that is like absolutely unacceptable. So yeah, let's move on to our next story now, because I have, let's share this tab. Let's do that. Yep. So we're in New Jersey, my home state, as you guys know, and there is cartoonishly ridiculous corruption here to the point where it's just laughable. And it's another example, most recently. And so here we go. New Jersey Attorney General charges Democratic power broker George Norcross in bombshell indictment. If you live in New Jersey, you know who George Norcross is. He's like a political boss here in New Jersey. It's like a Sopranos type shit. It's like he's been around for a long time here in New Jersey. So what is this video? Let me see. Oh, I know what this is.
As energy demand continues to rise, we're innovating to help responsibly increase our U.S. oil and gas production, like at our Gulf of Mexico facilities, which are some of the world's lowest carbon intensity.
I can't even mute it.
Producing assets. That's Energy Impress.
This indictment alleges that a group of unelected private businessmen used their power and influence to get government at the state and local levels to aid their criminal enterprise and further its interests. Through their alleged acts, the Norcross enterprise was able to obtain the rights to build multiple buildings and obtain hundreds of millions of dollars in government-issued tax credits.
What's funny about this? You see this dude here, the man here with the graying hair here. That's George Norcross right there. He's sitting there. The fucker is sitting there, while the New Jersey Attorney General here is announcing indictments against him. He's just sitting there like, oh yeah, I'm here. What are you gonna do? You gonna indict me? I don't give a shit. I'm a power broker here in New Jersey. You're not gonna get me anyways.
They allegedly did this with the complicity and acquiescence of various state and local elected and appointed officials, who turned a blind eye to their duties and obligations to the people of New Jersey to instead serve the interests of a powerful few. The state alleges that George Norcross has been running a criminal enterprise in the state for at least the last 12 years. I also want to acknowledge that law enforcement officers and prosecutors who investigate powerful people and people who violate the public trust often are unfairly scrutinized and criticized by the very people they're charged with investigating. These are people with access to government officials and influence over the media. It turns out that powerful people don't like being held accountable. and they use these attacks to try to deter us from doing this work. Let today be a lesson for everyone in this state. We will never back down from doing the hard work necessary to do the right thing for the right reasons. We will never stop pursuing justice. When we say no one is above the law, we mean it. And we will continue to hold accountable anyone who violates the law to serve their interests above the public interests, no matter how powerful.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. George Norcross is actually sitting there. So he's sitting there watching the Attorney General announce these indictments against him. Whoops. Hello, Steve. Thank you for joining us. Mustard Gene says all governments are corrupt organizations or criminal organizations. I mean, I can't disagree with you. If you haven't already, give me a like. I mean, helps me out. Helps out the channel too. I'm going to read some of this article. Trenton, New Jersey. New Jersey's Attorney General Monday announced one of the state's most powerful Democrats and his allies in a sweeping indictment alleging a long-running corruption scheme. The charges against George Norcross represent another seismic event in New Jersey politics in a year that has already seen drastic disruption of his notorious boss systems. And George Norcross is often held up as a simple New Jersey political boss. He has long been the subject of scrutiny by law enforcement and a political task force, but has never been charged. Yep, I mean, New Jersey is comically corrupt. It has political bosses, and it's like, it's just comically corrupt here. I mean, to the point where it's like, come on, dude. It's like literally an episode of The Sopranos. The indictment brought by Attorney General Matt Platkin portrays years of extortion and threats. Norcross has run a criminal enterprise, at least for the last 12 years, Platkin says, causing hurt to businesses, individuals, and especially the city of Camden, one of the state's poorest cities. So now the Camden part is this is what the claim is primarily. Let's see. Oops. The Norcross enterprise manipulated government programs and processes designed to attract development investment to instead suit their own financial desires, Platkin said at the press conference. Instead of contributing to the successes of the city of Camden, which is it's one of the worst cities, or the worst city in New Jersey right now. I mean, you don't want to really go into Camden. Even though I do have family and live in Camden, so I do go into Camden, but I digress. Through a series of criminal acts alleged in a state's case, the Norcross enterprise took the Camden waterfront all for themselves. So they were trying to redevelop the Camden waterfront, and instead the Norcross enterprise, as they call it, took it for himself and all his friends. So they all made the money instead of, allowing for open competition and open bids. There were no open bids. Instead, Norcross and his group and his people just bought up all the property there in Camden. The South Jersey power broker personally attended the press conference, uninvited. He was there. I showed you, in fact, where he was. He sat front row, closest to the podium. Again, this is like a criminal boss, political boss type move. It's like, oh yeah, you're gonna indict me? Well, I'm gonna sit right here, motherfucker. What? You ain't gonna? What? You think I'm gonna go to jail? I'm not going to jail. Staring at Platkin as he announced his 13-count indictment on racketeering and other charges. His team of attorneys objected when a staffer for the Attorney General's office asked him to sit somewhere else and objected to the attorneys not being able to ask questions during the press conference. So yeah, there's drama and. So let's see. I want to witness an extraordinary embarrassment and outrageous conduct from a government official who stands up there and tries to act like he's holier than thou, Norcross told reporters outside the Attorney General's office. Norcross criticized Platkin in intensely personal terms, said he wanted a trial to start in 2 weeks. I want Matt Platkin to come down here and try this case himself, he said, because he's a coward and he has forced people in this building to implement his will. So obviously, Norcross is exercising his right to a speedy trial, as it's as outlined. The indictment also is an indictment in state political culture. New Jersey has long had a reputation for corruption, and his senior senator Bob Menendez is midway through his second federal bribery trial, which is another thing. It's comically corrupt, New Jersey. It's like our senior senator Bob Menendez, he's on trial for federal bribery charges. So it just continues. It's often said that New Jersey politics is a blood sport, and what's meant by that is if you don't go along with the demands of those in political power, you'll get hurt. Clacton said, and yeah, for the most part, that's been true. It's like New Jersey. It's just comically corrupt here. That's so Norcross, whose brother Donald is a member of the House. Yes, sir. Donald Norcross is a member of the House of Representatives in Washington. So of course, that's not surprising to find out. Has wielded tremendous influence in New Jersey politics for decades, all without holding elected office. He's an insurance broker by trade, but built up what's known as the South Jersey political machine, a Democratic political coalition considered one of the strongest in the state. He's a member of a Democratic National Committee, counted figures like Nancy Pelosi among his friends. Not only is he a powerful Democrat in New Jersey, but he's a pretty powerful one, for the National Party too. At his peak, Norcross was known as one of the most powerful unelected officials in New Jersey. His influence peaked under Republican Governor Chris Christie, who worked hand in hand with Democratic Senate President Steve Sweeney, a childhood friend of Norcross, of course. The president of the Senate, Steve Sweeney, is a friend of Norcross, but after losing legislative elections in his power base of South Jersey in 2021, including the one held by Sweeney, Norcross conceded he'd been diminished. He told Politico he was stepping back from state politics. Clacton also charged Norcross's brother Philip, a lawyer and activist or lobbyist, his longtime lawyer Bill Tambusi, and former Camden Mayor Dana Reed, Sidney Brown, and CFO of trucking company NFI, and John O'Donnell, the leader of residential development company, the Michaels Organization. The indictment comes 3 days after Clacton charged 2 South Jersey Transportation Authority board members for allegedly retaliating against an engineering firm whose executive refused to go along with political requests from Norcross. And yes, this is the same Norcross that allegedly has backed away from state politics. The charges against Norcross and others referred by Clacton as the Norcross Enterprise include racketeering, misconduct, financial crimes, and carry penalties up to 20 years in prison. The 111-page indictment details more than a decade of alleged criminality, much of it touching on tax credits and waterfront development extensively reported on in the news media. And one example, Norcross allegedly threatened a developer who had waterfront property rights after he would not give those rights on Norcross's terms. Norcross told the developer that he would fuck you up like you've never been fucked up before, according to the indictment, and make sure the developer never did business as Camden again. Others then conspired that the city condemned the developer rights and plotted for city officials to publicly accuse the developer of not being a reputable person, according to the indictment. So I'm not reading the indictment there. I mean, it's 111 pages, and we can go on and on. I mean, it's like New Jersey is like comically corrupt. I mean, it's so comically corrupt that it's like, yeah, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Let's see. And there's also a lot of incompetence in New Jersey. So let's see. Be nice if I made it a little bigger. So these are some most recent news coming out of my home state. New Jersey considers a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Here we go. And, this is more to do with global warming, climate change, whatever. Apparently gas-powered leaf blowers somehow is contributing to climate change. So ridiculous, but that's what we're doing here. New Jersey Transit train delays. Again, more incompetence. New Jersey Transit and Amtrak service suspended due to power issues. So they can't run the trains because there's no power. Great. That's perfect. Let's see. That's not important. High school yearbook. So the heat advisory. As I told you guys at the beginning of the show, it's really hot today. It's 93 degrees currently. And the high today was 97. So yeah, very fucking hot. And if you live in New Jersey, you live in the Northeast, just stay cool. Drink plenty of fluids and stay cool. New Jersey restaurant owner charged with sexually blah blah blah. there's something specific I wanted to see here. Oh, that's right. We got some tax increases in New Jersey again. So let's see. Don't want that ad there. No, I'm not interested in giving you my email address. Let's see. So we got more taxes. Like, we don't pay enough taxes here in New Jersey, but we got more. Why? Very simply because we got to pay. We got to pay for the mass transit system. Tax increase deal struck between Murphy top lawmakers. Taxes will be raised in New Jersey's most profitable businesses to fund the state's mass transit system. So, I mean, allegedly, these taxes, are on the most profitable businesses, but usually how this works is the businesses will pass that cost on to their consumers, their customers. So that'll lead to price increases. So most likely we'll be paying these taxes and not the most profitable corporations or companies in New Jersey. Governor Phil Murphy and top lawmakers have reached an agreement to raise taxes in New Jersey's most profitable businesses to help fund the state's mass transit system. The governor is expected to pursue raising the state sales tax, according to the report. Yep. So again, the state sales tax is 6.75%, I believe. Let me double check that. State of New Jersey sales tax. 6.625%. I was close. So the current, they were discussing raising the sales tax, which again affects the poor middle class a lot more than the rich. So the governor isn't expected to pursue raising the state sales tax, according to the report, despite it being floated as an alternative solution by the chairman of the New Jersey Senate Budget Committee earlier this year. That hike would have reversed then Governor Chris Christie's 2016 deal with state Democrat leaders, which also raised the gas tax for infrastructure repairs and nixed the estate tax. Murphy has previously expressed support for a raised sales tax, even proposing an increase back to 7% in 2018. So Murphy loves the idea of increasing the sales tax. News comes of deal less than 2 weeks before the state budget for the new fiscal year, starting July 1st, is due. Other details on the $56 billion state budget is still being poured out. It also comes during a hellish week for commuters when New Jersey Transit trains between New York and New Jersey suspended on 2 separate occasions. The reported deals to aid New Jersey Transit teased as a corporate transit fee a Murphy budget addressed this year that will require that 600 companies in the state that profit at least $10 million annually must shell out 2.5% tax on earnings for 5 years, retroactive January 1st. According to CBC Voter, thank you for joining me. According to Murphy's budget address, a corporate transit fee would create a dedicated funding stream for the transit system in a way that is consistent with our vision for a stronger, fairer New Jersey, Murphy said in a statement. Murphy said in February. Spokespeople from Murphy did not immediately respond to Pat's request for comment on Friday. Senator Paul Sarlo, the chairman of the Jersey Senate Budget Committee Construction Industry Executive, first raised the idea of raising the sales tax to 7% in lieu of Governor Murphy's proposed $1 billion tax hike for 600 businesses during a budget hearing in Trenton last month. The increase from the Garden State's current 6.625% rate would be more stable than the corporation business tax on higher earning income companies that could vary from year to year. Analysts from the Office of Legislative Services separately noted the proposed tax hike on businesses could be an unstable source of revenue for the transit system. New Jerseyans already dole out about 1.85% of their personal income on sales tax, which is it's 6.625%. It's a lot. According to figures from the Tax Foundation, the state's total state revenue for New Jersey in 2021, the latest data is available, nearly $43.7 million. Representative from New Jersey's top businesses lobbying group, who has been petitioning Murphy for proposed tax hikes since its inclusion in proposed state budget earlier this year were unsurprisingly on board with Sarlo's plan, blah. The sales tax. Nevertheless, several advocacy groups in New Jersey called instead for the state to extend the business tax that they say could be used to bridge New Jersey Transit's funding gap and keep more money in residents' pockets. The problem with that is New Jersey Transit actually their board voted to increase fares for bus trips. That's a whole nother thing. So this whole point about how it'll help New Jersey Transit is really not true because New Jersey Transit is already increasing. They voted to increase bus fares. Let's allege. So that's a big story that came out recently. Jesus. I'm on Rumble. Hey, Steph. Thank you for joining me on Rumble. Hey, Mastermind. Thank you for joining us. Please like if you guys haven't already. For some reason, none. Let's see. So New Jersey, we got to pay out more taxes. New Jersey Transit's current budget woes are fueled by low pandemic-related ridership that cost New Jersey Transit $2 billion in revenue to date. At the end of its COVID-19 relief funding in 2025 marks additionally budgetary concerns after $119 million deficit. So blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so this whole thing is just, again, because, quite frankly, they're going to, New Jersey Transit has already voted to increase bus fares from 165 to 185 by July of this year, and by 2025 it'll increase to $2 per fare. So this is, even though allegedly this deal is done in order to increase to increase excuse me to increase revenue from New Jersey Transit. I mean, oh God damn it. Yeah, so let's see. Let's move on to the next story because I'm done. So I also thought of an idea, like, okay, so I wonder which city is more corrupt, or which state is more corrupt, New Jersey or Illinois, because Kit Cabello of Heartland's Media has talked about the insane corruption in Illinois, but I'm sorry, I think New Jersey's more corrupt. So I'm going to reach out to Kit about coming back on the show again, and we're going to try to figure out which state is more corrupt, Illinois or New Jersey, because this cartoonish corruption in both states, but especially I think these are the two most corrupt states in the country. So that's kind of my idea on, let's get rid of that, on what's going to happen. So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea. But yeah, New Jersey, insanely corrupt. It's insanely corrupt, and and at some point, I want to get Kid on the show so we can figure out who's the undisputed champion of corruption. So that'll be in the future. I'm gonna have to reach out to Kid on when he's gonna able to come on the show. But let's see. So let's move on from that. Budget. Let's see. There's more. That's for tomorrow. In fact. So I found this very interesting. Like, we all know that malls are dying here in the US. Oops. Let's do that. So apparently Netflix, for you guys, I'm sorry. Well, I'm so sorry. I'm sweating my ass off here. I don't have air conditioning. So, but yeah, you guys, who have Netflix and you're wondering why Netflix is constantly increasing their prices for their service in exchange for less, this is the reason why. It's very interesting. It turns out This was reported by Variety on June 18th. Netflix has announced the first 2 cities for its gigantic new in-person experience venue slated to open in 2025. The new Netflix house is to open next year in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, and Dallas. Will feature a wide array of shopping, eateries, experimental activities tied to the streamer's major franchises like Bridgerton, Stranger Things, and Squid Game. So Netflix is planning, basically, they're claiming is in-person experience venues, aka a mall. So this is what Netflix is spending their money on. These Netflix malls, as I like to call them. They're not experience venues, because what they're saying is a wide array of shopping, eatery, experimental activities. So that shopping, eateries, it's a mall. It's a fucking mall. So that's what Netflix is doing here. And malls, there's abandoned malls all over the country. I mean, because Amazon has been, like I said here. So Netflix is opening a mall in 2025. Malls are dying because of Amazon. There are abandoned malls all over the country. What makes Netflix think this is a good idea? Which is a lot of the reason why Netflix is increasing, subscription prices for everything. Let's see. So Netflix had decided in their super genius idea to open a mall. So that I found that a little interesting, and let's see if there's any new thing here. Netflix has announced its first 2 cities for a gigantic in-person experience venue slated to open 2025. They're not exactly theme parks, but the new Netflix houses to open next year will feature a wide array, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so it's a mall. It's not a theme park. The 2 locations will occupy former department store locations at King of Prussia Mall at 180 North Gulf Road near Philadelphia, and the Galleria Dallas, spanning footprints of 100,000 square feet. Okay, so they're using former department store spaces, that are already there, which is going to make it cheaper, but it still costs a lot of money to put up the infrastructure inside these spaces. The Netflix house locations will build upon previous pop-up. Actually, if I did that would work. The Netflix house locations will build on previous pop-up live experiences the company staged for Bridgerton, Money Heist, Stranger Things, Squid Games, and Netflix Bites. Designed to create an unforgettable venue to explore your favorite Netflix stories, characters beyond the screen year-round, the company said. At least initially, Netflix doesn't see these permanent retail destinations becoming a sizable new business segment. Rather, the goal is, with its other IRL events and pop-ups, is to serve as marketing vehicles that invite fan engagement, a way to support the core subscription streaming business. Blah blah blah. So in other words, it's like, let's open. So let's see. I can't wait for the Cuties Haunted House. Yeah, doesn't require an explanation, Mastermind. But yeah, I mean, Netflix is insane. Like, what makes you think this will work? I don't know. It's out. They're insane to think that. Oh yeah, let's open a mall, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're gonna do. It's not like it's not like they claim it's like it's a in-person experience venues with shopping and food. It's a fucking mall. I don't care what people say about how they're trying to, it's like, well, it's not a mall because, it has a lot there, it's not a core part of their business. Well, still, it's a mall. And it's ridiculous to open a mall in 2025. Let's see. Let's see. So, this is interesting. Let's talk about this. I mentioned Chicago earlier with Kit. So next will be TikTok bodegas. All right, so let's do that. While announcing the reparations task force, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says Black people don't have access to highways, nutritious foods, healthcare, housing, or jobs. He's designated $500,000 towards studying the issue. I don't understand Democrats' obsessions with task forces. I mean, here's another example. This time in Chicago, Black people don't have access to highways, nutritious foods, healthcare, housing, or jobs. How would it not have access to highways? Highways, people that have cars have access to highways. So what he's saying is Black people don't have cars really, which is why they can't have access to highways. Nutritious foods, again, very few Americans have access to nutritious food, not just Black people, because food is very expensive. What else? Healthcare. None of us have access to healthcare. Unless you're really poor, then you get Medicaid. But other than that, if you're middle class, you're kind of screwed, because no matter if you're Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Japanese, Afro, whatever, you don't have access to healthcare. None of us have access to housing because rents are going up exponentially all over the country, especially in Chicago and here in New Jersey and in California and every state in the country, not just those states I mentioned, or jobs. None of us have jobs. We're basically going to a gig and service economy. The jobs are shit, not just for Black people, for everybody. So yeah, $500,000 wasted on a goddamn task force. Let's see. So let's listen to the mayor,
The scars of systemic racism and injustices that have been inflicted on our communities. We've seen them in highways that cut through Black neighborhoods, and the industries, of course, that flock to these neighborhoods, often contributing to increased pollution and poor health outcomes. We see it in the trauma, of course, that is caused by gun violence. But we also saw it firsthand with the gross disinvestment that was intentional by previous administrations. And so beautiful neighborhoods like mine, the Austin neighborhood, has seen many health disparities, the lack of nutritious food, the lack of employment opportunity. The disinvestment in our communities have been intentional. And of course,
I see why he's singling out black residents. I didn't realize this is a Juneteenth rally or event, so that's why he's singling out particular Black residents, even though we're all going through these issues, not just Black people. But let's keep going.
That's why it's imperative that it is now the time to deliver good on reparations for people of Chicago, and particularly Black people of the city of Chicago.
Can I ask
because even as I stand,
how would reparations work from a city? Like, there's no way Chicago can afford reparations. If you're going to do reparations, you have to do it at the federal level. You would have to bill at the federal level. Like reparations, though spending $500,000 on a reparations task force is somehow going to help Black residents of Chicago. I mean, that makes no sense. That's just a waste of $500,000 in order to give it to scholars and people that are educated in order to tell the administration how to help Black people when he is Black and he should know what Black people need. It doesn't make any sense.
As I stand here today as mayor, the legacy of slavery and the aftermath still echoes today. We saw it when previous administrations sold off public assets. We saw the harm when previous administrations closed Black schools and they shut down public housing, when they raided the pensions, these anti-Black, anti-business endeavors that have caused tremendous harm and pain. But it's a new day. In fact, we are standing on the shoulders of one of the great leaders of this city, Dorothy Tillman, who laid the foundation and the groundwork to ignite a movement for reparations. It was Dorothy Tillman that introduced me to Dr. Claude Anderson, Black Labor, White Wealth. And it is why my administration is committed to driving reparations home. And we're going to invest $500,000 into the study of restoration and reparations for the city of Chicago so that we can begin to move in the direction of complete liberation.
We're going to invest $500,000 into a task force in order to tell the administration on how to help Black people in the city of Chicago when the mayor is a Black man who grew up in the city of Chicago. How does that make sense? I don't know. I mean, it seems like you're just wasting $500,000 for no reason. other than to virtue signal and grandstand. Exactly. They ain't gonna make the poor people rich. No, Steph. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just a Juneteenth virtue signal. That's what this was. Ultimately, that $500,000 is just going to lead to a 100-page report, and it'll get buried in Brandon Johnson's desk. Because there's no way in hell that. There's no way in hell that Brandon Johnson will do anything that report tells him to do. Exactly. That's what they're going to give that money to rich people. Because basically $1 million will go to scholars and it will go to the educated elite in the city of Chicago, this task force, which I'm sure will include some conservatives because, it has to be even for Democrat politicians. And they'll take that money. They'll give you a 100-page report and it'll get buried in Brandon Johnson's desk and it'll never be mentioned again by Johnson or his administration. Someone's going to make $250,000 as a director of homeless affairs. That's another thing. Thank you. That's another thing I need. It's ridiculous. It's like you have homeless experts or director of homeless affairs or whatever that have been around for 25 or 30 years getting hired by governments all around the country. Like, tell us how to end homelessness. Okay. So these experts tell them how to end homelessness, and then after that, nothing changes. Then they go to another city, another state, another city. Like, you've done this for 30 years and you haven't ended homelessness yet. It's just ridiculous. I can ask Kitten about coming on. Well, I appreciate that stuff. I mean, I know he's busy, so at some point I would like to have him on to do that. But let's see. I wanted to bring this up. I'm sure parents are going to appreciate this a lot because I'm not a parent, but at the same time, it's it's like good street justice. New Yorkers beat illegal alien accused of assault of a 13-year-old girl at a park. The Ecuadorian man crossed Biden's open border in 2021 and was staying at a taxpayer-funded shelter. I've seen this video, I haven't seen the whole thing, but it's like...
¿A dónde tú te vas? Aquí voy a esperar. Oh, okay. Okay. ¿A dónde tú te vas? He a rapist.
She's Puerto Rican. I could tell this out of her accent and what she's saying right here.
He don't care. He don't care that he hit the 13-year-old. ¿Dónde tú te vas? Yo, I'm trying to pull him from under the car. He under the car.
Leave him. Let's go. Leave him.
Yeah, they're beating the crap out of this guy for assaulting.
Salte de mi fucking carro.
Definitely Puerto Rican.
Salte de mi fucking carro.
He's underneath the car hiding. Surprised she didn't get in the car and run him over. Oh, he can't. I can't leave like this.
Bro, pull him from his hair this time.
This is New York.
The D's.
New York City.
Yo, right here. He right here. Yo, come, pull up. Come. He's under the car. He hiding under the car because we beat the shit out of him. Yeah, I put my hands on him. I beat the shit out of him. He right there. He hiding because we beat the shit out of him.
Got shit on him.
Yeah.
Fucking rapist.
I'm on citizen app, baby.
There's a cop right there.
Thank you. Yeah, we
got a cop arresting him.
He's right there. Look at him right there. We beat his ass.
Man, she's proud of herself. Like, yeah, we beat his ass, and there are cops right there. I mean, again, if you're a parent, I'm sure you understand her anger and her after what he did to that 13-year-old girl. But it's like, I know she's Puerto Rican and from New York based off what she's saying.
We beat his ass. Beat his ass. Beat his ass. I'm on Citizen app. Bro. Nah, he good. He good. We on Citizen app. That's my brother. He's good. He's good. I got him. Come. I got him. All right, I got you. Thank you.
Violador. Yeah, he's lucky to be alive.
I just stepped. Yo, I just broke my Cartier. I'm mad as fuck. I just went in. I'm sorry. Okay, come, baby. Come. Go. Come.
I'm not using the N-word.
Come.
So
he's hyped because he got a daughter. So I got you. I'm on Citizen, by the way. I just would like to let you know.
I caught him, you heard? I caught him.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. He caught his ass, and I'm not gonna lie.
I just don't want him getting hit by a car.
Okay.
All right?
I caught them.
Sorry, mommy.
Yep. So he got his ass beat. I'm like, yeah. When I came across that video, it was like, oops, 13. I messed up. So this is more from the New York Post. I mean, let's see. 13 Ecuadorian migrant who allegedly assaulted 13-year-old New York City girl said he recorded the attack in sickening confession. So he proceeds to confess to his crime. Not only did he do it, but he recorded it. So the Ecuadorian migrant charged with assaulting a 13-year-old girl he bound and gagged in Queens Park told cops he recorded the attack in a sickening taped confession, prosecutor alleged on Wednesday. The chilling admission by Christian Giovanni Ingalandi, 25, broke silence in an otherwise hushed court hearing in which he was arraigned on those charges there and other felonies. I was nervous at first and got comfortable and recorded it. He admitted in the videotape statements, blah, blah, blah. He had scratches visible on his face, scowled, and kept his head down throughout the indictments. So this is him right here. So he got his ass beat. I can't. That's him right there. He's lucky he just has some scratches and bruises because he probably should have been worse, messed up worse than that. He'd be eating his own D. Yeah, I mean, this guy's lucky to be alive, as I said before. And yeah, so he not only did I didn't know that part. I just read that article. He admitted to his crime, but he also recorded it. So it's like, oh yeah, let me record my horrifying crimes, just for the police to use against me, so I'll never get out of prison. Idiots. But I'm glad he did. I mean, that way, he already confessed, and and he'll be going to prison, and then after whenever, and it'll be worse for him in prison than what happened there. So good luck. He's gonna need it in prison. So especially after what they're gonna do to him in prison, especially in New York. So let's see. So let's get to this. Oops. He fucking recorded it. I mean, it's amazing to me how he just openly admitted recording the shit. His sickening crime. So, yeah, let's get to this, something else real quick. Gavin Newsom instituted a $20 minimum wage for fast food workers in California. 3 months later, and nearly 10,000 fast food workers have been laid off. Chains are closing down locations and others are declaring bankruptcy. So these are some examples of stuff. So let's see who's shut down in California. Last September, Gavin Newsom signed Assembly Bill 1228 into law, which included $20 minimum wage for fast food workers. and a fast food regulatory council, which has the authority to raise the industry's minimum wage annually. But between last fall and January, California's fast food restaurants have cut about 9,500 jobs, representing 1.3% from September 2023. So let's see who's closed down or declared bankruptcy. Rubio's, that must be a local restaurant. Foster Freeze, I don't know what that is either. Pizza Hut. Two large Pizza Hut operators in California laying off all the delivery drivers ahead of a new state law that raises the minimum wage $20 an hour. The layoffs are affecting hundreds of workers. Mod Pizza, I don't know what that is either. Bar Muroño, I have no idea what that is. Excalibur Pizza, these are local businesses for the most part. Subway, Burger King, Cinnabon and Aunties, McDonald's, Vitality Bowls at Pollo Loco, which I know about that because I think there's some here in New Jersey too. So, but that definitely sounds like something in California. So all of these restaurants and businesses either closing or laying off a lot of their staff because of the $20 minimum wage bill. Like, here's the thing with these minimum wage laws, which I don't know, which goes to prove that Mod Pizza is in Colorado. Okay. Well, which just goes to prove that employee abuse is part of their business plan. Yeah. Which is why about these like minimum wage laws. I don't know. I keep getting notifications. But yeah, here's the thing about these minimum wage laws. The issue is that you raise it to $20 an hour. Great. That means that there's more money in people's pockets. California has insanely high taxes, first of all, not just for the rich, for everybody. Two, that's also going to lead to massive layoffs and businesses shutting down because, as people know, there is no law against just firing a bunch of workers for no reason, or because of the minimum wage increase. There's no there is federal law against, you can file complaints and stuff to OSHA or to the labor rights. What is that called? Why am I forgetting that federal? I'm forgetting federal labor. No. Department of Labor. That's what it is. You can file complaints and stuff, but ultimately, it's hard to prove that companies fire you because the minimum wage increases. They could say if anything, and it's hard for people to prove when you file complaints. So that doesn't really work much. So that's the issue. I mean, it's great. I mean, $20 an hour for fast food workers is nice, but this is what's going to happen. You're going to have restaurants either shut down, lay off most of their workforces, or just say screw it, we're just not going to operate in California anymore. Also, let's say even if they decide to continue operating, what are they going to do? They're going to pass on their labor costs to their customers. I saw a report from a local Los Angeles station, KTLA. There's a report that I should have had it pulled up, but I didn't. But an average burger in California is like $15 for just a burger. No fries, no sodas, no anything else. Just a burger, $15 in California. It's insane. It's insanely high because, as we know, these companies either going to lay people off, they're going to close, or they're going to pass their labor costs onto their customers, which means less people eat a fast food, which honestly could be a good thing. That way, people aren't eating too much fast food. But at the same time, that's not good either. That's not good for the workers because unless people eat fast food, that means there's less need for workers, which lays them off even more. It's like a vicious cycle. They do that on purpose, though. These rich people don't want to pay a livable wage. No, they don't. That's why exactly they do it. These companies do it. They lay people off, or they pass costs onto their consumers. They do that, So that's why there's. I understand why I think these minimum wage laws for fast food are well intentioned, but ultimately you're going to end up in this type of situation. They're all saying the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Again, it applies here for sure. So, in my opinion, what I would like to see is more the government stay out of doing minimum wage laws and just going with encouraging unionization. That way, unions can negotiate their hourly wages or wages with the companies directly instead of having people instead of having the government set an arbitrary minimum wage and then having this shit happen. Yeah, I already covered that. Where is it? So it's another example of this. It's another example of unionization. Did anyone see a video on X about all the chemicals they wash out of fruit and vegetables? And no, I haven't seen it, but I'm not surprised because they use a lot of pesticides and stuff like that in order to keep like Joe's on call at the. So this is another example of unions and labor and stuff. Employees at OCF Coffee House in Philadelphia voted to unionize. 1 week later, all 3 stores have closed down. Now they're protesting the closure. So, yeah, this is a local coffee house in Philadelphia. So they all voted to unionize, and a week later, the company just completely shut down. Like, oh yeah, oh by the way, you want to unionize? Oh great. I'm sorry, we now declared bankruptcy. We're shutting down. Oops. I mean, so let's watch this news report here from Philadelphia.
You can't hide. We all see your greedy side.
Former employees of OCF Coffee House rallied outside of the now closed Fairmount Cafe on Tuesday.
We've been paid really bad wages, and this was our attempt to get better wages and make the place that we love better.
The coffee shops are owned by OCF Realty. The real estate brokerage announced the closures to employees in an email which included 2 other locations in South Philly. Workers like Alex Simpson say they were shocked.
I am pretty crushed, especially when it's such a blatant response to our union process. This comes a week after we publicly announced our union.
Well, yeah, so that's that. They decided to unionize, and the company OCF Realty, who owns the coffee houses, decided to say, "Sorry, we're closing down." So yeah, your little union doesn't matter now since the company's gone. So, yep. So I don't know. The thing with these small, unionizing against these smaller companies, I don't know how much money OCF Realty makes per year, but the issue is unionizing against these smaller companies that usually the legal costs for that are just insane, and I'm not surprised that these companies decided to shut down. They don't want to deal with unions. That's a cause. Rich people do not want to pay you better wages. No, again, that's what I'm surprised they shut down. They would rather shut down the company than to pay the legal fees and stuff like that in order to negotiate a union contract with the new union that just formed. So they instead said oh yeah, by the way, we've closed the business and your little union doesn't matter. Not much you can do about it now. So the U.S. has decided to do, I'm going to get to this. Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman calls for Netanyahu to be held criminally responsible for their crimes against Palestinians. Saudi Prince also called for the end of the illegal occupation and the recognition of the state of Palestine, 1967 borders, and Jerusalem as its capital.
استمرار العدوان والاحتلال والتهجير القسري لسكان غزة، كما تؤكد تحميل سلطات الاحتلال مسؤولية الجرائم المرتكبة بحق الشعب الفلسطيني ومقدراته. وإننا على يقين بأن السبيل الوحيد لتحقيق الأمن والسلام والاستقرار في المنطقة هو الاحتلال الحصار والاستيطان وحصول الشعب الفلسطيني على حقوقه المشروعة وإقامة دولته المستقلة بحدود 67 وعاصمتها القدس الشرقية، وهو ما يضمن استدامة الأمن واستقرار المنطقة ودولها. والسلام عليكم. والاحتلال والتهجير القسري.
I mean, do that, but you get the point. You know, I mean, they. Let's see, right or wrong, I like the idea of disgruntled baristas. They act like making coffee is doing surgery. Yeah, it's like I can make my own coffee. I don't. It's like all I got to do is put the K cup in my machine, do that, press a button, and there's my coffee. And that's basically what they do at these coffee shops these days. You know, they don't actually spend. If I order a large coffee, just start pouring. Yeah, I mean it's being a barista isn't that hard, but at the same time, I do understand. You know, making a living. Like you have to make a living, and you have to be able to pay your rent and provide for yourself. So Netanyahu is pissed at Joe Biden and decided to attack him. So, in fact, I tagged, this is like AOC's response. AOC, as Kit would say, this man should not be addressing Congress. He's a war criminal and certainly has no regard for U.S. law, which is explicitly designed to prevent U.S. weapons from facilitating human rights abuses. AOC is so naive. I mean, it's like you think the United States government is going to follow its own laws. Like, oh yeah, by the way, U.S. weapons cannot facilitate human rights abuses, except for Israel and Yemen and Africa and all over the fucking world. But other than that, U.S. weapons cannot be designed to prevent U.S. weapons from facilitating human rights abuses. His invitation should be revoked and should never have been sent in the first place. Blah, 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 blah. Same crap from AOC. So let's listen to Netanyahu here. Netanyahu attacks the Biden administration in a new video. I told Secretary Blinken it's inconceivable that in the last few months the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. I personally have no idea what he's talking about. Because as far as I know, they have not withheld anything. The only thing they withheld was those 2,000-pound bombs. That's as far as I know. The only thing that was like temporarily like withheld by the administration because of all the war crimes and stuff. So yeah, if you guys haven't already, please give me a like. That this I want. Just wanted to remind everybody of that. So let's see what BB has to say here.
When Secretary Blinken was recently here in Israel, we had a candid conversation. I said I deeply appreciated the support the U.S. has given Israel from the beginning of the war. But I also said something else. I said it's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Israel, America's closest ally, fighting for its life, fighting against Iran and our other common enemies. Secretary Blinken assured me that the administration is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks. I certainly hope that's the case. It should be the case. During World War II, Churchill told the United States, "Give us the tools, we'll do the job." And I say, give us the tools and we'll finish the job a lot faster.
All right, that's that. Netanyahu's mad because the Biden administration is allegedly stopping weapons and ammunition to them, even though there's really no evidence of that. But yippers. So I already did that. So now let's get to another Saudi Arabia story that I like. Angel, how's that? Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I like you too. So let's get to this. 23 years of silence, and all of a sudden they are now willing to blame the Saudis for funding 9/11. Is this retaliation for Saudi Arabia ditching the petrodollar and creeping towards economic affiliation with BRICS? That's definitely what it is. because we all know if you guys if we all know about 9/11, for years we have known that the Saudi, like, what, 16 of the 19 hijackers are Saudi, or 17 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi, and excuse the motorcycles, not much you can do about that, but 16 or 17 and 19 hijackers were Saudi. There were Saudi money all over the place. In fact, the Bin Ladens are Saudi by they're Saudis, and the Bush administration infamously, as soon as 9/11 happened, they took the Bin Laden family that was here in the U.S. and put them on a plane back to back to the Middle East. So before it came out that Osama bin Laden did this, so they protected the Bin Laden family from any U.S. citizen aggression. So yeah, and the reason why now the U.S. government's kind of admitting this is because the Saudis have kind of betrayed the U.S. government by ditching the petrodollar and creeping towards the economic affiliation with BRICS. So now all of a sudden now it's the U.S. government and the United States and the media is finally admitting, oh yeah, it probably was the Saudis who did 9/11. So this is a 60 Minutes report.
The CBS News exclusive, the unnerving video outside the U.S. Capitol, filmed 2 years before the 9/11 attacks. Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for being with us. 2 decades ago, the 9/11 Commission found that al-Qaeda acted alone. But victims' families say that is not true, pointing to this video and other evidence as proof. They are suing Saudi Arabia, claiming its government provided crucial assistance to the hijackers and planners behind the September 11th attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. 60 Minutes correspondent Cecilia Vega reports.
A voice on the video says in Arabic, "I am transmitting these scenes to you from the heart of the American capital, Washington." This video, unsealed in federal court this week and obtained by 60 Minutes, was recorded in the summer of 1999. The man behind the camera is Omar al-Bayoumi, who the FBI says was an operative of the Saudi intelligence service with close ties to 2 of the 9/11 hijackers.
And the FBI didn't notice this, like, oh yeah, by the way, this guy is Saudi intelligence, and he's connected to 2 of the 9/11 hijackers. Like, they didn't notice this. Like, the United States government knew about this for years. Before the first attack was the World Trade Center was in '94, with the when they had the vans underneath and they bombed the World Trade Center. Ever since then, it's like, I thought they couldn't, thanks to Obama, signed the bill saying the families couldn't sue the Saudis. I don't know about that stuff. Maybe he did. That's Obama signed so many things into law, that were horrifying that I missed that one. So maybe, but if that was the case, the federal courts would have to dismiss the case, no matter whether they can prove that Saudis were behind it or not. But
time is 6 p.m.
The video was filmed over several days. Bayoumi recorded entrances and exits of the Capitol, security posts.
Trust me,
a model of the...
If you try to record any major, if you're caught like doing this in Washington, like anywhere, if you like this, like recording with your phone or whatever, you'll get police, like Capitol Police. You'll get police in your face immediately, because Washington today is full of cameras, so they can see anything and everything. So yeah, so this is ridiculous. The U.S. knew about the Saudi connection for decades and basically hid it, and now released it because the Saudis are like, oh yeah, we're going to abandon the petrodollar. Now we're going to head towards BRICS, which is honestly smart, because the U.S., our government's kind of unstable and we're pretty fucked. If the Saudis, they're going to abandon the petrodollar. So now this is retaliation from the U.S. government. Like, oh yeah, you want to abandon the petrodollar? Now fuck you. Now we're going to show off the evidence saying that you were involved in 9/11. And we covered it up for decades because, you were allies. Now, since you're not really allies anymore, now we're going to expose the fact you did 9/11.
Of the building and nearby landmarks. In this portion of the video, Bayoumi points out the Washington Monument and says, "I will get over there and report to you in detail what is there." He also notes the airport is not far away.
What I see Bayoumi doing is going out and making a detailed video record of the Capitol from all its sides and then conducting that 360-degree panoramic view. GS-11.
Richard Lambert is a retired FBI agent who led the initial 9/11 investigation in San Diego, where Bayoumi and the two hijackers lived temporarily before the attack.
Yes, 1998, they said. So this is before the phone cameras. So they would have to have like a video. This is 98, so this is before digital cameras. So this man would have had one of those old school camcorders and doing this, and nobody noticed him doing this. Like nobody in the government noticed. There's this Middle Eastern guy just recording all of Washington. Nobody noticed, and just let him do that. You know, there's more
attacks. He's now a consultant on the case filed by the 9/11 families.
If you've ever flown into Washington, D.C., one of the first things you see on the horizon is the Washington Monument. So if you know where your other targets are in terms of the Washington Monument, it helps guide you to your intended target.
Federal investigators believe the hijackers on Flight 93, which crashed near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, had the U.S. Capitol as their likely...
By the way, that plane crash in Shanksville, there's no plane there. It's literally like just a big hole there in Shanksville. Where's the plane? Fuck if I know. There's no plane there. I think they only found like one wing or something. Where the fuck's the rest of the plane? Again, there's plenty. I can go on a full rant on 9/11, and I could do an entire episode on 9/11. But yeah, there's so many, like it's so obvious the federal government knew and allowed it to happen, maybe even participated.
Likely target. The lawyers for the 9/11 families and former intelligence analysts we spoke to believe portions of the video show Bayoumi surveilling the Capitol as part of that plan. And in the video, he references a, quote, plan.
You said that in the plan. What plan? Who is he talking to?
What do you think he's talking about?
I think he's talking to the Al-Qaeda planners who tasked him to take the pre-operational surveillance video of the intended.
Yeah, that's a big leap. That's a big leap of logic there. I mean, yeah, we talked about it in the plan. So that's a big leap of logic to go from okay, Saudi intelligence to the 9/11, hijacker that ordered him to go to Washington to do recon. That's a big leap of faith there with really no evidence, but
intended target.
So this video is taken in late June and early July of 1999. What does that timing tell you?
Well, that means it was taken within 90 days of the time when senior Al-Qaeda planners reached the decision that the Capitol would be a target of the 9/11 attacks.
That's when Osama bin Laden decided to approve Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's so-called planes operation. In the days after 9/11, British police discovered the video during a raid.
By the way, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, I think he's still in Guantanamo Bay, isn't he? I mean, he's been there for 20 years now. So, yeah, as far as I know, he's not been brought to the U.S. to face any charges yet, even though he's been in Guantanamo Bay over 20 years. So let me go back here. This kind of... All right, here we go.
In the days after 9/11, British police discovered the video during a raid on Bayoumi's UK apartment. They also seized Bayoumi's handwritten address book that the lawyers for the 9/11 families say was filled with phone numbers of numerous senior Saudi officials who were in the government at the time. And when Bayoumi filmed the Washington video, he was often with two Saudi diplomats who the FBI says had ties to Al-Qaeda, a finding the Saudi government disputes.
Well, it is another very large brick in a massive wall of evidence that at this point indicates the Saudi government was complicit in the 9/11 attacks.
Ken Williams is a retired FBI agent who led the 9/11 investigation in Phoenix, where one of the hijackers attended flight school. He's also a consultant on the case filed by the 9/11 families.
In terms of all the revelations that have come out as part of this 9/11 lawsuit.
Oh yeah, all these FBI agents are now conveniently consultants on this lawsuit. After they hid this for over 20 years because the Saudis were allies. Now all of a sudden they've abandoned the petrodollar, and now what a coincidence! FBI agents are now all of a sudden consultants on these lawsuits, and and now this video all of a sudden comes out after over 20 years of being hidden too, which it wasn't even in the 9/11 commission report. So yeah, so very convenient.
Lawsuit. Where does this video rank?
I think it ranks right at the top of the pile.
The government of Saudi Arabia says nothing to see here. This is a tourist video. This is a guy out looking at the sights in Washington, D.C.
I would vehemently disagree with that. This is not a tourist video.
The British police are believed to have turned over the video to the FBI shortly after 9/11, which raises the question, why, after more than 20 years...
So Scotland Yard or British police or intelligence, whatever, they handed the video over to the FBI right after the 9/11 attacks, over 20 years ago. And now all of a sudden it conveniently comes out from the FBI. Why did it hide it for 20 years? Let's see his answer.
Is it just now surfacing?
Did somebody really mess this up? This seems like a really big thing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. She's trying to cover it up too. Did somebody mess up? Because this is a really big thing to not been released, you know? I mean, she's basically giving him the answer. It's like, hey, did somebody make a mistake? It's not like there's no way you could have done this on purpose, right? You couldn't have covered this up for 20 years on purpose. Had to be an accident.
Thing to just being made public.
If that was missed, then shame on us for missing it. If it wasn't missed, then I would have to ask the question, what was done with it?
That was Cecilia Vega reporting. And
yeah, I mean, very convenient timing for this video to come out, and very convenient timing for these FBI agents to all of a sudden become consultants on this lawsuit. Like this tweet says, is this retaliation for Saudi Arabia ditching the petrodollar and creeping towards economic affiliation with BRICS? I think so. I definitely think so. It was all done to get us into Iraq, so Saudi helped the U.S. get another war. Yep, but here's the issue. The Iraq war was pointless. Iraq didn't do anything to us. Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan. I don't know. The Bush administration somehow connected Afghanistan to Iraq in order to justify an Iraqi invasion, which is insane. Like, why? Like, how could you connect those things at the time? I don't know. In 2004, I was a senior in high school when they invaded Iraq, and it was like, what the fuck are we doing? I mean, you couldn't even really justify the full-blown invasion of Afghanistan because the Taliban was willing to hand over bin Laden. They were willing to just hand them over. Oh, yeah, here, we know where he's at. You can have him. Nope. Instead, it was like, no, we're going to send 100,000 troops. We're going to invade because for reasons, you know what I mean? Even though the Taliban was willing to hand them over at the time. So they knew exactly where he was in Afghanistan. Then the Iraq war came out of nowhere. They're like, oh, yeah, you know, I mean, we got to go into Iraq 9/11, Iraq 9/11, Iraq 9/11. We got to go in, you know. Saddam Hussein is a terrible person. He has weapons of mass destruction, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that there were no weapons of mass destruction. And the 90s, you know, those places were decommissioned in the 90s, that right after the first Gulf War. But, you know, 9/11, Iraq invasion, no reason, you know, let's get the oil. That's what the Bush administration did. And, you know, Scott Ritter was there. He was a UN weapon inspector at the time. And as we all know, you know, he was there at that time. And I mean, this is absurd. I mean, the Afghanistan, Iraq, We're now bombing in Syria. We're still in. Oh, I mean, we got a tip and I didn't know. Isn't it convenient to blame the Saudis now? I'm convinced it isn't real. No, I mean this is obviously retaliation for the Saudis abandoning the petrodollar. That's why all of a sudden, after 20 years, that video came out of a Saudi intelligence official recording all over Washington. You think the U.S. didn't know that the Saudi intelligence official was there? You think he didn't know? Of course he knew. Of course Washington had to know. The FBI had to know. It's like, you think they wouldn't flag this guy as soon as he got into Washington? Like, oh no, there's a fucking Saudi intelligence official here. What is he doing? Okay, let's watch him. So they had to have known. I agree, Iraq didn't do nothing to us, but Bush Sr. went after Iraq in the first Gulf War, and sorry about that, Bush Jr. wanted to finish it. That's another reason why. Bush wanted to finish Daddy's war that he started. So that's another reason why they invaded. So thanks for the $2, Anna Myers. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name probably, but thank you for the $2 anyways. Yeah, so the Saudis are, now all of a sudden now they're not allies anymore, clearly. All right, let's see. Anything else I need to talk about? Now let's get to this. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has signed a new strategic partnership agreement that that includes provisions for mutual assistance in events of aggression against either country. We know who they're talking about. I mean, when they say an event of aggression against either country, we know who they're talking about. They're not talking about aggression from Japan or Vietnam or South Korea. They're talking about the U.S. and NATO. I mean, that's who they're talking about with this. So that's them signing the agreement, shaking hands. I assume this was done in Moscow, this agreement. So yeah, smart. I mean, honestly, I think Russia and China are connecting themselves more. Russia and North Korea, Russia and India. I think I covered a story a few months ago where the Russians are selling oil to they're selling oil to the Indies or to the Indian government using rupees instead of U.S. dollars. So yeah, the U.S. empire, the petrodollar empire, is falling apart, and Washington's acting like, oh no big deal. Let's saber rattle against Russia, China. Let's saber rattle against. Let's try to start more wars for no reason. That was done in Korea. Okay, well, North Korea. All right, well, I was wrong. I looked like it assumed it was Russia. Kim looks scared riding around with Putin. Yeah, I saw that video. He did kind of look like, oh shit, is Putin going to kill me? I mean, because remember, Putin is former KGB, so there's no joke there. These people are no joke. So, yeah, I think. Let me see if there's anything else to cover before I go here this week. Missed doing the show last week for so much. I needed a week off, and I went over my girlfriend's house, so we did that. That's not relevant. So no. All right, so yeah. So now the Saudis aren't allies anymore. They're I guess they're our adversary now, and we're gonna start retaliating against them, like this 9/11 thing now. And all of a sudden now we get confirmation from corporate media that the Saudis likely did do 9/11, or at least assisted in it. So I'm not necessarily, they didn't provide much evidence for it in that CBS report, but it's more like leaps of logic and faulty conclusions. But that's just my opinion. Whoops, dropped my towel. So before I wrap up, make sure if you're a wrestling fan, check out Pro Wrestling Talk tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have a lot to talk about there. So please come check us out tomorrow night. And make sure you watch Angel in the Afternoon next Friday at 7, as that show should be happening next week. I intend to do a show next week. Hopefully be able to get some guests on soon, like Kit Cabello and others. So stay tuned for that as well. So that'll do it for this episode, Angel in the Afternoon. Hope everybody enjoyed. Hope, except for flooding in Dubai. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming on and watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channels, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night for Pro Wrestling Talk, and next week for Angel in the Afternoon, 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a nice weekend, everybody.